Thank you, Donna. Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation now about how to accelerate the transition to a green and sustainable economy. And it's right that that conversation happened in the context of an infrastructure package. And as for the Green New Deal, when I am in the U.S. Senate, I will push for a historic, unprecedented infrastructure package. I'm not at this time ready to endorse a single resolution that lays out a framework for it until I can understand exactly how we make that resolution work for Georgia. But my priority will be historic investments in infrastructure, in clean energy, in overhauling our electric grid, in making our coastline and our agriculture more resilient to the effects of climate change, and in evidence-based policymaking. We're seeing right now, Donna, what happens when politicians like Donald Trump and David Perdue ignore science, ignore data, and ignore expertise. We cannot afford to keep making the same mistake when it comes to protecting our environment.
Thank you. I'd like to ask if any of the other candidates want to talk about the Green New Deal. I see Mayor Tomlinson first, and then Maya Dillard Smith.
Sure, Donna, thank you. I think a lot of us were shocked when Mr. Ossoff said he didn't support the Green New Deal. And the point of the matter is, the Green New Deal and resolution is just a series of principles, much like what you laid out, to resolve the climate change that we are experiencing right now through fires and floods and intense hurricanes and the devastation that has brought our city's infrastructure is crumbling under these rains we can't withstand. And we're paying right now millions of dollars. We have the opportunity to create millions of jobs. And the Green New Deal is a proposal, and it's not a piece of legislation yet. And nobody who believes that the climate is essential to our economic growth should be saying that they're against it.
Thank you. Maya Dillard Smith.
Thank you. I'm the only candidate in this race who actually knows something about what it means to move land conservation, air quality, and water control and protection. I have the great privilege of being the lineage of a 50-acre family farm that's still in operation, just recently gave the water district an easement. I can tell you this, that the Green New Deal, much like Teresa just laid out, levels out a framework. But what's more critical is that we talk about replacement industry for farmers, for individuals in the disaster recovery around fires, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, and what that means in the redistribution of wealth and recovery. Much like we are going to have to do out of COVID-19, we've seen the stalling of resources, particularly here in Georgia and the coastal areas resulting from Hurricane Michael. We've got to streamline the direct resources to the individuals who desperately needed to bring fundamental principles of the Green New Deal to reality.
Thank you. I wanted to ask some of the other candidates. Sarah Riggs Amico, your feelings about the Green New Deal and about climate change solutions.
Absolutely. I support the principles of the Green New Deal, and I think that this is one of the top 5 priorities. I've been very clear that combating climate change and its effects on the health and well-being of our population and our economy would be one of my top 5 priorities in the U.S. Senate. I have 2 little girls. They're 7 and 9 years old. And the least I can do is help leave them a world with clean air and clean water. And we've seen the Trump administration time and again, enabled by people like David Perdue, who are utterly silent in this debate, dismantle the protections for clean air and clean water, refuse to accept that it is always poor and marginalized communities who are most hurt by climate change. And as a U.S. Senator, I can promise you those issues of environmental justice and equity will be front and center of every policy I support.
Thank you. Markeith DeJesus.
Well, we can't talk about climate change and the Green New Deal without first talking about China, who is already positioning themselves to be a leader with regards to renewable energy. China has put $126 billion towards being the leader of renewable energies versus the United States at 46 billion. So we definitely need to make sure that we keep an eye on China, because no one wants China to be the leader of making sure that we take a hold of what we are experiencing right now from climate change. It's not a hoax, and we've got to make sure that the general public understands that this is something, if we don't take hold to it right now, will be a disaster for our children and our children's children.
All right, and Mr. Knox.
the reality is you can't refute empirical data. We can sit back. We can visually see the impacts of climate change and the impact it's having. We can see that by the tenacity of the hurricanes that are hitting our coast, through the tornadoes, through the earthquakes around the world. The reality is that we have to support a Green New Deal if we expect the culture and the climate, if we expect the world as we know it to be here for our kids and grandkids. And I have a 1-year-old grandson this week, Sarah, so I understand that. So we have to make sure we're implementing policies, but I do have to agree, and I don't want to give anyone a nod or anything, but I do have to agree with John when he said we have to understand the framework. We just can't hitch our wagon to someone touting or saying something that's vogue in terms of the Green New Deal without knowing what that means. We have to understand what a Green New Deal means. And is this reasonable? The President Biden said we'll get there by 2050. Is that aggressive enough? So we have to make sure we have a framework in place that everyone can understand, and that framework is communicated to people so they can understand how it'll be implemented. Thank you.